Good morning, guys. My name is OP. I'm a prop trader from Ashedge, and I'm here back every day to give you the market analysis of the cryptocurrency market and Bitcoin in particular, but overall the market. Let's just jump right into the charts because there are so many things bullish. I have my hoodie on, my Sui hoodie on because Sui is bullish. It jumped, it surpassed the whole altcoins, and I'll get into the charts. I'm just getting too ahead of myself. But first, we take a look at Bitcoin USD perpetual, and we can see that we are just averaging. We went up onto 93,000, there about 94, 3,000, and now we are back at 92,900. And like you can see, like I've drawn, if you look at my chart from yesterday and today, I've drawn a box which shows the resistance, this area of resistance from around 90,000 to 94,000, and this area of resistance we have to break through this. So what I see happening in the near term is that we'll continue to be choppy within this range. The most important is that we Bitcoin doesn't go below the 89,000, 88,500, which I've marked as this. And if we maintain this for the near term, at least for the rest of this week following into next week, I know that we are structurally bullish, and we have to maintain that in order we know that the trend has changed, because the trend is our friend, and right now the trend is saying that we might be appearing bullish. I've drawn another up resistance at 106,000, which shows the bullish momentum that will probably be heading towards maybe around I'll be anticipating we'll be heading towards around 100,000, and that will be looking towards to take profit. Looking at the RSI, we look like we are overbought right now, but that doesn't mean we are even looking also heading towards the bottom. So I believe we will continue to be choppy around this box area, which is 89,000 to 89,000 to about 94,000 thereabouts. So once we are choppy, the RSI will reset, and that will prepare us for another movement upwards towards 100k. We did see a further pullback, like we are seeing right now. We are pulling back a little bit with the red candle, like we are pulling back to 92,000, which is healthy for the market, and I think is good because we need more liquidity to be building up around this level. So we'll be chopping up around this level so that we'll form another higher low. So once we form this higher low, we'll know we'll be moving on. We are seeing a lot of bullish narrative, bullish news, and a lot of catalysts in the market that would propel the markets to go upwards further all along. Just make sure that you are taking profits along the way, and you are hedging your positions accordingly. And you know that we have to be careful and manage our risk. So we would always be managing our risks moving along, and we can see all of this happening. And also, even on the narrative front, fundamental news, we have seen that 17,000 Bitcoin have been pulled from exchange, and once they are pulled from exchange, where do they go? They go into the cold wallet. So most people are holding on to Bitcoin, accumulating, and all of this is just showing us bullish momentum in the near term. I'll come to further fundamental news on Bitcoin further along in this video, so you get to hear more about Bitcoin. And we have so many bullish narratives and bullish catalysts that is ready to pump this price to Valhalla, to be honest. So make sure you are watching these videos early and you're not missing anyone, so you are taking advantage of every single thing, and you are here early every day, consistent, persistent, and we are taking advantage of every single, because as traders we want to take advantage of all these violent moves to the upside or even to the downside. Anyway the market is moving, the price action is moving, that's where we make money. Let's just move straight into Solana. Like we have been observing Solana for the past 1-2 weeks, and Solana right now has gone to 148, which it was kind of like yesterday. So we we also notice that we are still in this range of 140, 148, 150 type of range up until about 130, 138 kind of. So I also expect a pullback, a little pullback in the near short term, choppy market for us for further upwards movement. RSI looks like we are pointing down, similar to Bitcoin, that we are going to be. So same narrative for Solana, but a lot of bullish narratives going on. So for Solana, you can see like with the block is reporting that Solana strategies, stocks jumped 25% following $500 million raise to buy more Solana. So you can see institutions are coming, they are flooding in, and they cannot even wait to get hold of cryptocurrencies. This is what we are seeing all around, listed strategies listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange, and they are securing 500 million to buy more Solana, to load up on more Solana. So what are we doing, guys? Are we in this market? We should be paying attention. We always want to be on the side of smart money and the side of institutions, what they are doing in this market, so that we take advantage of the trade and make money. We jump right into XRP chart, which we have been looking at it from a structural perspective and a broader macro view. XRP is one of the chosen coins, is one of the ISO 2100 coins that has been selected by the security SEC in America, and also one of the institutional backed tokens already in this space. And I really believe and I understand that this currency XRP is going to do a lot of good deeds. It's cross-border token, of course, is tied with Ripple, which is the company, is the underlying company, and all of this is bullish for XRP. We have been talking about how XRP has been bullish. The fundamental news is incredible, and XRP also looks choppy right now. Also, same thing with the RSI, looks to be trending downwards, which I think it will just be consolidating around the $2 mark for us to further. And we say our XRP always jumps very violently. So we are just awaiting a violent move for XRP, and we are here to take advantage of this. I'll just take a momentary look at some other bullish charts we have seen. Like we have seen SUI, which has made a crazy move for the past 24 hours. And if we look at this chart, right from yesterday, we did a 42% move over 24 hours. That is incredible for SUI. That's why I have my SUI hoodie on, because I'm bullish on this. Of course, I've been loaded up on SUI, and I'm bullish for the ecosystem. When you look at the narratives, why is SUI pumping? Because they have their SUI base camp happening in Dubai in the first week of May, which I'm due to be attending that. So I get to understand the ecosystem, meet with the founders, meet with developers, meet with people doing a lot of bullish things within the space, and we would gather more news. Of course, I'll feedback all of this. I'll give you all of these guys I'll give you feedback from all the news I hear, all the bullish narrative I hear, and all the altcoins, So you have to watch these videos to get more alpha from me for what will be pumping next within the SUI ecosystem, because this is a bullish narrative. If you don't have SUI as a layer one, what are you doing? You should be having SUI, because I really believe SUI is going to do a lot more than that. We also take a look at another interesting chart which moved. I know I've been shitting on it also as plan B, one of the creator of the stock to flow model in the cryptocurrency space, and Ethereum has been doing poorly. You can see is still approaching the 50 MA moving average trending line, and right now is being rejected by the 50 MA. So what we'll be looking at here is, once we get above the 50 MA, let's see if we retest it, and we'll be looking forward. Of course, I keep my levels around the $2,000, $2,100, between $2,000 and $2,100 levels. Once we get to that level, once we can be able to get into that box and that range, we do a retest of it and we confirm it as support. Then I know that we are going further to the upside in Ethereum. So Ethereum too is looking bullish. Everything is looking bullish across the charts. It's quite interesting how the whole market has changed within 48 hours. But this is why we have been here every day paying attention to this market, because we know at the flick of a switch, everything will change, the whole narrative will change, and suddenly everything would be looking bullish, and we are here to take advantage of all of this. Looking at Ethereum again, speaking further on Ethereum, why Ethereum is eating up, you can see CryptoQuant, a very good platform for looking at on-chain analysis, is stating that Ethereum is heating up because active addresses has just jumped from 306,000 to about 336,000, about a 9.8% increase in just 48 hours. So a lot of bullish things are going on Ethereum. A lot of people are loading up on Ethereum bags and expecting a further further up to the upside. And if Ethereum gets to, some people are predicting 4,000, which is the is the last bull market highs, but 10,000 by the end of this year. By 2026, that will be very, very bullish for Ethereum as a whole, and every other thing that is on the Ethereum L1 that is based on it will also pull them along. You are yet to see an altcoin cycle, so that is what we are anticipating, because we should always be early before the movement, and that is how we take advantage. Just like we're early with all of this, looking at XRP, looking at SUI, looking at Solana, and even of course the big daddy Bitcoin. Looking at the fear and greed index, we have kind of dropped from yesterday, which we reported at 72. Now we are at 63, which I think is healthy, because once we go too much, we have too much greed, it makes us greedy and a lot of mistakes, because at that time we are emotional, and we as traders, we don't want to trade with emotion. We want to stay stoic and looking at the market from an objective, taking it as an objective perspective, and looking at the charts and letting the chart dictate to us what we do. Looking at the altcoin market, like I said, altcoin market is not looking too buoyant at the moment. A lot of red compared to yesterday, which was all green across the board apart from gold, but now we have kind of flipped, which I think is healthy. Markets don't move up in a straight line. We have to retest, and move upwards now. You can see what is really jumping out right here. Of course, you can see, which is the Trump token. I will speak about that more, because the Trump token is just pumping. You see, SUI is also pumping, like I said, XCN. I don't really know this token, but I'll do more research into it. Jasmine, another Asian token, Quant token is also doing well. Link 1.9%, which is also another very good institutional backed token. But to speak about the Trump token, the reason why Trump token pumped, the Trump meme coin pumped, is because it was announced yesterday that President Trump will have the president will have a private dinner with 220 top holders and buyers of his of Trump meme coin in May. I believe it's happening in May, sometime in May. So this is actually bullish, and the meme coin is now turning to Trump meme coin is now being seen more as a utility play instead of just a regular meme coin that doesn't have any utility behind it. So watch out for this. There's a lot of meme coins that will now be turning to be a utility play and has an underlying reason or utility for the holders to hold this token, and Trump meme coin has just proven this. We are seeing a lot of things across the board, a lot of developers and founders working on things like that, and that is looking at Miles Joshua is just talking about what will pump the altcoins that will pump the IATAs, the ones that they were heavily shorted, oversold, and the strong underlying narratives. Like you can see, there's a lot of narratives behind them. The new upcoming catalyst, like we see with Trump coin, the momentum indicator, like the moving averages, that I'm talking about, I'm always pointing out in different in our chart. Then moving along, we see that the Tron network has surpassed 70 billion in circulating USD, and this is actually very, very bullish for Tron, because Tron is the cheapest is the cheapest gas fees to move USDT on the Tron chain, and this is just a reflection of global community, of users, of engagement, of cryptocurrency as a whole, because it's easy, it's cheaper to move it at lightning speed from one wallet to the other, from one person to the other. So we can see all of this happening across across the space, and all of this is just bullish. We see Jack Mallers, one of the Bitcoin OGs and Bitcoin evangelists, so to say, and he has been talking about Bitcoin for a very long time, and now he's launching his 21 company is building a big Bitcoin bank targeting 500 trillion market cap. If this is not bullish enough, I don't know what is. Let's just listen to his interview.
Jack, when did this idea come to be?
The founding story. So I co-founded the business with Tether. I would say I've known the Tether group for over a decade. There just weren't that many Bitcoiners around over 10 years ago. So we've done a lot of work together in El Salvador, et cetera. We've been so inspired by Michael Saylor and all of the public companies acquiring Bitcoin. But I would say over the last few years, that inspiration turned into what we thought was an opportunity and a hole in the market that we could deliver on, which is bringing blue chip credibility and startup upside. We feel like we can bring enough capital and be big enough to win. We're small enough to grow. And most importantly, a pure Bitcoin business. A lot of these companies, they're pivoting from a past operating business. They're rebranding, changing their name. They're maybe selling video games to buy Bitcoin or selling medical equipment to buy Bitcoin. Right. And we're a purpose-built Bitcoin company. We're going to build Bitcoin products, Bitcoin cash flow, and we're going to give Bitcoin per share growth to shareholders and be hopefully the best way for investors to get Bitcoin exposure in the public markets.
Jack, I think off camera, just before we started, you used the word vehicle, a vehicle for Bitcoin. I think like a reasonable question that people have is, what does the CEO of a new company whose mission is to accumulate Bitcoin do day to day? Like, what is it that you're going to try and manage or achieve?
Yeah, so for all the Bitcoiners out there, we encourage you to check out our filing. We've introduced 2 new metrics to the public markets. One is BPS, stands for Bitcoin per share, as opposed to earnings per share. And the other is BRR, which stands for Bitcoin return rate. And my job and what I'm dedicated to do for our shareholders, in which we view similar to our customers, is grow our Bitcoin per share. So we're an operating company, and when you buy a share of 21, in a hypothetical sense, what we intend to do is, let's say our Bitcoin per share is 0.05, our intent is to be able to grow that to 0.06 Bitcoin per share, 0.07 Bitcoin per share. Where a vehicle like an ETF, your exposure is static. So 21 is an operating business, and we will be building Bitcoin products, Bitcoin operative cash flow, and then using the capital markets to accretively grow the Bitcoin on our balance sheet. So we want our shareholders to get wealthier, get richer in Bitcoin terms, and our metrics encourage the market to view us not in fiat terms, in Bitcoin terms, because we're not here to necessarily beat the market. We're here to build a new one and encourage the world to adopt Bitcoin in a sense that we believe it hasn't yet.
But Jack, you already...
I just want to pause the video here because the video goes quite long for 5 minutes. Well, you are welcome to watch the video at your own time and place, because so what we just see, the summary of what is just saying, Bitcoin is going to be bullish. They are going to be building a Bitcoin specific. I wouldn't necessarily want to buy 21 shares, you know, because that's kind of like an ETF kind of arrangement, which would be like a representation or a derivative, rather that's the correct word, a derivative of Bitcoin. I don't want to necessarily, but I'll prefer to hold Bitcoin myself and control it by myself, because that's the whole point of Bitcoin, for you to have self-custody, to own your own Bitcoin, and to be a trillionaire, rather than 21 who buy Bitcoin for me and I now buy 21 shares. I wouldn't rather do that. I'll necessarily go straight to the source and hold my Bitcoin by myself. And also, it's just speaking of building on the Bitcoin ecosystem and the Bitcoin network itself. So I anticipate, and I'm watching, and I'll start to do my research into Bitcoin ecosystem and looking at other runes, like things like runes, other Bitcoin altcoins, so to say, on the Bitcoin ecosystem, other things that we should drag along. Just what comes to mind is like meme coins like Dog on the Moon, or NAT token, all those ones, all those, and there are many more that are building on the Bitcoin ecosystem. Those that will be bullish for Bitcoin ecosystem. So this is just bullish catalysts and narratives that are just coming out there. Of course, all these guys have been working in the background on the sidelines while we were all bearish and everybody was capitulating and leaving this market. But you see all these things that's coming to fruition, and it's coming to light now, and it's just going to skyrocket the price and go to draw more users into this space. You can see Mexican billionaire Ricardo Salinas is saying that Bitcoin is going to 10 million. I don't know when his timeline of 10 million is, but he sees Bitcoin at 100 times more. I will take whatever it says, you know. I'll just take it as a bullish narrative for it, but of course he is willing to withhold his to the volatility of Bitcoin. But I think this is still bullish for the space, because it's clear that many people see a lot of upside for Bitcoin, and that is what I would take. I would take that for anything. Then you look at Bitwise CEO is talking about Bitwise saying that a lot of sovereign wealth nations, sovereigns, which is countries, and their sovereign wealth funds are buying Bitcoin, and they are trying to get into the door. We see institutions trying to get into the door. Sovereigns are trying to get into the door. We are already positioned before the sovereigns. We have beat them into this game, and they will be buying our bags. That's what we want. The price will increase. Just hold your Bitcoin, trade the Bitcoin. We can make money from either upswing, either ways, because of course it will never go up. You know, nothing goes up forever. You know, it will still come down. We trade everything. Trade it when it's coming down. Trade it when it's going up. We are here to get rich. But let's just watch this video. I think I'm just very bullish. So excited about this space. I've always been excited about this space since I got into this space. And every day I wake up, I'm bullish. Like, it gives me fire in my belly and makes me want to be part of this space. I love being in this space. Let's just watch this video.
Yeah, I mean, I had a conversation with a sovereign that was interested in the ETF because they wanted to get ahead of the US buying it. And it was just a faster, easier button. I do think they'll end up buying both. If you look at the gold market, for instance, that's what you see. People own gold ETFs and they own gold bars. The same thing is going to be true here in crypto. So I think it's probably more likely that more sovereigns are going direct, but you'll definitely see more than one take the ETP route. It's just incredibly convenient, incredibly low cost. Yeah.
So he's just saying that sovereigns are going to be buying more, they are going to be stacking more. Like I said before, even Coinbase is also corroborating the same story, saying that sovereigns are also here. Sovereign wealth funds are quietly buying Bitcoin.
So institutions, sovereigns, patient pools of capital were piling in during April, which resulted in about a 13% increase in Bitcoin versus 10.5 for gold. And retail via the ETF were exiting. So you got to kind of ask yourself, what do the institutions know?
Were the
that
institutions buying Bitcoin direct? And how many of them are now buying via ETFs or other forms?
Well, hard to say. They don't, especially the sovereign wealth funds don't report.
Right, no, but you're also, I imagine, seeing ETFs buying. Because the ETF should be buying on
in the last couple of days.
But the ETF should be buying on a relative basis on behalf of their customer base.
Right, some error inflows, right? But the last couple of days, yes, we've had inflows. But still, as of yesterday, it could change today, we've had net negative ETF inflows. So the first reason is de-dollarization. The second reason is this tech unwinding of this big levered tech trade and Bitcoin trading on its core characteristics, which again are similar to gold. You've got scarcity, immutability, non-sovereign asset, portability. Right. So trading the way people who believe in Bitcoin would like it to trade. The last was, to me, the most interesting, which is, I spoke to a couple of traders who said, look, if you believe these conditions, these de-dollarization conditions are going to persist, you're looking at gold, obviously, first and foremost, but maybe you missed out on that trade. You're looking at that rally and saying, I missed the boat on that. So what other assets could participate in that market panic long-term inflation hedge? When you do the work, there's a very short list of assets that mirror the characteristics of gold. Bitcoin is on that short list. In addition to the 4 characteristics I mentioned, it's mining scarcity, it's mining difficulty gets harder over time.
Yeah, and you can add 2 or 3 more good things about Bitcoin that you didn't even mention. So, I mean, maybe it never is used to wire money or whatever you want to call it over to the Far East or something, but you certainly can do it instantaneously, frictionless, right?
And you can do it overnight.
And you don't have to pay gold. I mean, you better, it's heavy, you better store it, you better insure it. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Portability is an under-looked at, it's under-emphasized asset. It's very, very hard to transport large amounts of cash. It's very, very hard to transport large amounts of gold. Right. You can't put $400 million of gold on a small disk drive, tuck it under your arm, and move if you need to.
So this is quite bullish. It's just talking about the same thing, like I said. And what is said that really jumped out to me is the de-dollarization of the world. And everybody, when you see the dollar coming down, everybody's rushing into gold because that is a risk off. And once that is happening, and most people that have missed the boat, where do they go to? It's nothing but Bitcoin. Everybody's going to, because Bitcoin is referred and is known as the digital dollar. So like I've been saying, I believe Bitcoin will get into the risk off bucket, and once it cements itself as that risk off bucket, you will see so many people flooding into it. People that want to buy gold, that want to park their money because they are scared of the uncertainty of the market, they are scared of global uncertainties, or global trade talks, or geopolitics events, and all wars and every other thing, and the debasement of fiat currency as a whole, and the debt levels that we have in different sovereign countries. Where do they go to? Bitcoin. They go to gold, number 1, Bitcoin, number 2. But when will we see that flipping of Bitcoin and gold? I believe that's going to be coming soon, sometime soon. This chart from TechDev is just saying that the Bitcoin, we are going to see a violent move in the next 5 years, and this next 5 years is going to be very, very bullish for Bitcoin. You can see with the charts, it's just saying that we are just going to go upwards up until it's putting around the same thing, 200, 220, 250 thereabouts, which I'm also targeting for 2026. So this is quite bullish for the space, and we can see all the catalysts and everything just getting in gears for all these for this violent move. You see Russia this was just breaking news just recently overnight, and Russia is just announcing to open a Bitcoin and crypto exchange, and all this is just happening to this space and setting a bullish narrative and everything that is going on. Then we move on to macro analysis and macro news that is happening overall, and you see because we still have that underlying news and underlying backdrop of China and US trade deals and global trade talks that is happening, and also with the regulations, which I'll still speak on further later. Well, we can see that White House is now softening its approach to China, and I think they were just positioning themselves and just yapping on back and forth with that. And White House is now softening its approach, saying that there will be no unilateral reduction in tariffs against China, and China has reported back saying it's open to resuming talks with the United States. So this is very, very good for us, very, very good for the markets. And you see, and moving on, you say Trump is also saying they are going to substantially lower taxes on Americans because of tariffs, because he knows that who else will be will bear the brunt of whatever tariffs is come. It's the consumer that buys the good at the end of the day. And of course, he doesn't want to see that because he has a large user base amongst the regular working Americans, and he doesn't want to let them down, So all of this, he's just helping them, and he's just bullish on the market. And all this is just bullish narrative for the market. Hopefully, all this can be kept, and these purposes can be kept, and it can be kept, and there's no another back and forth, and Trump is pissed off tomorrow and changes the rhetoric with China. We think this is bullish for the overall space, and this will be very good. You also see with the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying that the tariff war was actually unsustainable, and he expects a de-escalation with China, and that the US is also saying that, is also reporting that they expect to finalize a new trade agreement with Japan, and that 34 countries this week will be negotiating new deals. So all of this is moving on very, very fast regarding this space. Then you now see with the news that I have on the screen, which is about regulation, UX regulatory framework, and it's saying that the new SEC chair that was just appointed, I believe yesterday, the day before, Paul Atkins, I believe, US lawmakers are rallying behind him so that he advances crypto regulations and he boosts market growth. And we just see what was just written here, saying that the SEC needs to move quickly away from the failed policies of Gary Gensler, the former SEC chairman, and return to a common sense approach to regulation that encourages innovation and fosters economic growth. So we can see all of this is also happening, and he too has said in his comment from yesterday that I played that he is going to provide a firm regulatory foundation for digital assets. And all of this is just bullish for the market. All of this is just bullish for the overall space. And we can see with the dollar going down, is worrying. Adins, I don't know how to pronounce his name, on crypto, but very, very prominent crypto bro in the space, is just speaking on what he's seeing, that he sees a crack in the system, because dollar usually moves in lockstep with the US lead, and right now that is not what is playing out. And since the yields are climbing, but the dollar is weakening, all this is macro analysis, and this is not what is happening. And what is just signaling, what this is signaling is that something has broken in the system, and when something breaks in the system, everybody is escaping to something that is certain, something that is risk off, that is taking them away from uncertainty, which is normally gold. And what is the next best thing to gold right now at this moment is Bitcoin. Of course, like I said earlier, we still believe that Bitcoin will flip gold to be the number one certain asset in the world. Then we just conclude this video with a very, very lovely thread on crypto Twitter, but it's too long to read. I will just give a summary of what he's saying, explaining everything that's happened for the past 1 week in the crypto markets, and especially Bitcoin. And he's saying nothing has really changed, but what it means to him is that there's a slowdown in the economic growth for US and overall in the world, and the Fed can't really cut, because right now there are too many things happening. So it will be very drastic for Fed Jerome Powell to just cut rates, and the markets will start pricing in the slowdown in growth once companies start reporting and finishing it. We can see that Tesla just dropped his data yesterday, and his reportings for the last quarter was really, really poor, which even has led to Elon Musk saying he's going back and he's leaving Doge committee and is going back to Tesla to go and resume all about EV trades, which we see across the EV cars and all these stocks. Everything has been down, and hopefully that will pick up soon. And so you see all of this happening together, all of this happening in tandem, because at the end of the day, we still live in that same economy, right? So all of this happened. Then outside of tariff announcements, there's really nothing happening apart from. So he's expecting that there will still be a crash in the market, maybe not a crash, but a correction. I would call it a correction and a capitulation of both US and China. But the rally is still bullish at the moment, and we follow the rally. We follow what the markets and the price action is telling us. And right now, what is the price action telling us? That we are consolidating between 89,000 to about 94,000, and we'll be watching this market ready to, once we build this support, we build this and consolidation around there, this sideways movement around it. I expect this to go on for some few days, probably at the end of this week. So we'll be looking at what the weekly close is telling us at the end of Sunday. By Sunday, what the weekly close will be saying and what the candles are telling us at that point. That will inform us what Bitcoin will be doing next week, and that is how we look at the analysis to be able to gauge whether what I'll be expecting is that we form a higher low at the end of this week, and that will inform us further what we are going to be doing next week, and whether we are going to take a long, and whether we are going to continue this bullish trend upwards to go above 100k, which will be our take profit, our initial take profit levels, and we'll be looking to make money. That's why we're here every day, to give you videos like this. We are bullish on this market. This is why we're here, to make money, and for you guys to watch me, to go from zero, having nothing in the bank, from zero to Ferrari, till I buy my Ferrari. Let's go. Bye.